episode of Cultivate. Thank you for joining us today. And before we get started on today's episode and introduce you to my guest, I did want to say thank you so much for all your support. Thank you for all the messages. And I want you to know that I've read all your prayer requests and your comments here on YouTube, and that you've left us also on Instagram. And we are praying for you. And we're going to continue to put out some resources for all the things that you need, all the questions you have. And so thank you, because I know we're building this Flourish, Cultivate community, and we're going to continue to advance and move forward into all the amazing things that God has for us. But on today's episode, I'm very excited to have an incredible guest. I love her. I admire her. She is so gifted. She is so beautiful inside and out. I've met her at church. She sings in our church as well. And she just has such an incredible story of overcoming, of just a strong woman. Today, we're going to be talking about domestic violence, and I have Shanda Roberts with me here, and thank you so much for being willing to just sit down and let us know some of your story and encourage us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited. It's always a pleasure to just sit and talk with you for a little bit, so I'm excited.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. You and I had this conversation where you told me some of your story. I know there's a lot to your story, but we were able to talk about the specific part of your life that involved, domestic abuse. And I think that's a topic that it's huge. It's important to talk about. And just lately watching the news, I mean, it's always something that's always happened. But even as of recently, I think it's been the past 4 to 6 weeks that I've seen just 4 different stories of murder-suicides, and it's all been ex-husbands, ex-boyfriends, that had a history. Some of them had restraining orders. And so I wanted to take a moment and just hear a little bit about your story, and then just shed some light on what this is, red flags of what do we do, what can someone that's maybe in this situation do. So we would love to hear some of your story. And
okay. Well, my story starts, I don't know, as you were talking, I'm like, where does my story begin? Because there's so much. So I was born in Bahamas. My mom is Jamaican. My dad's Bahamian. My mom brought us here to the States when I was 3. My mom had to work, of course, and leave us home with my grandma and my older siblings. And then we had a neighbor who would, look after us just in case. I was molested by that neighbor at 4. And when I went and my family was looking for me, and we played hide and go seek all the time, so they thought I was hiding. So when they found me, he heard them calling my name. So he eventually let me go. And when I went to tell my mom, I was so afraid of, just anything. So I never told her. I didn't tell my mom this happened until probably maybe 5 years ago. Wow. I just revealed to her what happened. Because I'm currently, like I told you, writing a book. So I wanted to tell her before it came out. And then also, so that was the beginning of my story. But I believe that one situation left me susceptible to the future abuse that was to come, and the bad relationships that I had going forward. My father was never there as well. So at 15, I was walking along with one of my friends, as we do back in the day, we'd walk and somebody honks the horn at you and you swear, you're the finest thing since sliced bread. So, they honked the horn and I said hello. They got out and was talking to my friend and I. And, asked for my phone number. I gave the guy my phone number. And I honestly didn't think nothing of it. We were going to the mall, Cutler Ridge Mall, what it was back then. Got dropped off at the mall, and this eventually ended up into, hey, can I come over? Let me take you out. So I was 15 at the time, and he was a lot older. Now, he told me he was, I think, 20, 21, I believe. But he was older than that at the time. I believe he was like 25 or maybe 26. So he would take me out, different places, to the movies, buy me things. I didn't have to catch the bus anymore. He was taking me to school. He was picking me up from school. He had a nice car. And then I found out later on he was a drug dealer. He sold drugs in the neighborhood of the school I went to. And all of the, and so then the girls in my school knew him. I wasn't from the neighborhood where my school was, but the girls who I went to school with were. So they knew who he was, and they were, kind of envious that I was talking to him. And to me, it wasn't a big deal, but they were like, oh, that's who your boyfriend is? They want to argue with me and fight with me about this man. I was like, I'm not fighting y'all. You can have him. I'm not going to argue and fight about him. So that kind of got to me asking him, why are people asking me about you? And that's when I found out he was selling drugs and stuff. And then that kind of, made me feel like, oh, I have somebody that somebody wants, So you start feeling like, I'm her, I'm it, or whatever the case may be. And that kind of got me big-headed in thinking that I had a good relationship or a good person. And then he would also spoil me with different things. So I would come to school every day with a new outfit or new shoes. And I would brag about it, but not knowing this was his way of kind of grooming me to what's about to come. Then he would start to tell me things like, well, I don't want you going out with Diana today. Don't go out with her. I know that's your friend, but I want you to go with me. So I'm like, okay, he loves me so much. He doesn't want me around anybody else. I'll hang with him today. And that led to more than one occasion. Every day I got to school, I had to go be with him. I couldn't go hang out with my friends anymore. Then isolation is a part of abuse. Red flags. Those little small things are so subtle and they happen so smoothly that you don't realize that's what's happening. Instead of me realizing, of course I was 15, didn't know anything about domestic violence. I didn't know that he was controlling me and he was telling me what to wear and what not to wear. He was buying me things that he wanted me to wear, but I couldn't wear those things unless I was in his presence. I couldn't, if I put it on, I'm somewhere else. They're like, why are you wearing that? I'm like, well, you bought it for me. Yeah, but you only could wear it if you're with me. You can't hang out with her. You can't go here. You can't go there. So that lasted for a while. And the physical abuse kind of happened maybe 3 to 4 months after us talking and dating and stuff. So the first time that he physically abused me, where, like I said, he would take me around in his car and I was like a little trophy, I believe. And there was one time he drove me over to a friend's house. There were him and a bunch of guys outside talking. And while they're outside talking, I'm in the car, and I'm like, okay, I've been in this car maybe like an hour and I'm ready to go. So I rolled down the window and say, hey, I'm ready to go. And he looked at me like, don't play with me. So I'm like, I'm ready to go. And I said it again. And so he kind of motioned to his friends, I'll be back or whatever. So I'm thinking he's going to drop me off and just come back. So he got in the car, and the road that we were on was like a long road, and it led into bushes. Right now is where Cope South is, the school. And he drove right into those bushes, got out the car, and dragged me out the car and proceeded to just pound on me, hit me in my face, and my head, and my back. And he would tell me to cover my face so that he wouldn't hit me directly in my face, but mostly in my head. And
what did he say? Like
he would say stuff like, he was saying, don't ever try me again. Don't talk to me that way. Who do you think you are? I would, a lot of curse words and don't you ever do it again. Threw me back in the car, got back in the driver's seat and reversed all the way back to where he was, got out of the car and continued this conversation.
What was going through your mind?
I was shocked because this was the person who was telling me he loved me. He was buying me things and he was spoiling me. And I was distraught. I was crying hysterically.
What just happened? Yeah.
And I looked out the car windows for help. Not one man in that circle asked me, was I okay? And they all saw me.
Because they saw it.
They saw me disheveled. They saw me crying. I didn't look how I looked when I left. Not one person looked and said, what happened? Are you okay? Wow. I was crying dramatically. It was really bad. And then when he got back in the car, maybe another hour later, he said, you made me do that to you. Don't ever make me do that again. He said, you know what you did? You caused me to do that. So I will always feel that the attacks were my fault. Because he would make me feel they were my fault, which is gaslighting. Yeah. He would do things and tell me that I'm the reason those things have happened. So that went on for a while. When I got around 19, he kind of told me I was marrying him. I was afraid to say no, but I really didn't want to. And we just went to the courthouse.
So it was about 3 years of abuse.
Yeah, 3 years of abuse. 3 years of that. I had to go, so much has happened. I graduated school. He abused me that night of graduation. Made me quit my job. I quit jobs all the time because he would tell me to. You don't need that. I take care of you. I give you money. You don't need your jobs. I would quit jobs all the time. So that after the abuse on the graduation night, maybe like a few months after that, he told me we're going to get married. And then we went and got married at 19. I think maybe through a couple of months after that, I wanted to divorce him because he told me he would stop abusing me, and he started again. So he said, so my reason for marrying him was I'll do it if you just stop hitting on me. I said, you promised you would stop hitting on me. You told me you would leave me. You told me that you'll stop hitting on me or I would leave you. And he said, okay, I won't hit on you anymore. Just marry me.
What about your family? Did your family had no idea?
No, because my mom worked. She's a single mom. She worked nights and days. My mom worked at a hospital, and she would work 11 to 7. Then she would get off in the morning and go clean houses, and the time she get home, she sleep. So for all my mom knew, I was going to school and coming home because I was there when she got home, and I would be in school when she go to work in the morning. So we would see each other in passing. She had no idea who I was dating or if I was dating anyone at all. And these instances did not happen at home, obviously.
Right.
So I had a brother at the time. He passed away, but he was the only one that knew I had a boyfriend. And I had 2 older brothers, but they were in the military, so they were in and out the house as well. So I was kind of like on my own.
On your own, yeah.
You know what I mean? Just living life. And my mom just felt that I was responsible enough to go to school and come, which I did. I was going to school, but all this in-between stuff, she didn't know what was going on. So we got married, and then that lasted a couple of years. And now let me go back. Statistics show that victims will leave 7 times before they leave for good. I left him between 15 and 19, and 19 to 22, 23 when I divorced him, several times. But every time I left him, he would find me. He would either stalk me, he would find out where my friends are living, he would come to my jobs, oh my goodness. He would come to my job so many times to where I would quit because I didn't want to get fired because he came up there.
I know you told me a story once that you were walking down the street and he found you.
Yes.
Didn't he just like grab you and put
gas
you in his car?
station. I was at a party the time that story I was telling you about. It was like a block party, and I was walking down the street just with my friends. We were walking, and I walked into his car. Well, facing his car. His car was parked on the side of the road. So as I saw his car, I said, "Okay, let me get out of here." I turned around and ran right into him. So apparently he saw me as I was walking to the car. So these were times I left him, and this is the time where he kidnapped. He dragged me. Now this is a street full of people. Not one person said anything. The girls I were with we kind of dispersed because we were all like finding other friends to hang with. And he dragged me to his car, opened the car door, threw me in there, and he had really black tints on his car. So if you couldn't see in there, like limo tints, I believe. And I'm kicking the windshield. I'm punching the windows, but he's holding me in a headlock while he's driving. He drives back on to like where Homestead Hospital is now. There was woods and all that stuff back there. He drove me back there, and he threatened to drive the car in the canal. And he kept on saying, I'm going to kill us both. I'm going to kill us both. So I start crying, of course, and I'm begging him to not kill us. I said, I'll take you back. Just don't kill us. Don't drive the car in there. The road was this big. He had a Cadillac. The car was as big as the road, and both sides were a canal. And he kept driving the car like this. So I begged him not to kill us, of course. We drove back to what was our apartment, but I had left the apartment. He went back to the apartment. He said, I'm going to go in and get money, and we're going to go to a hotel because I know police are looking for you. Because it was a whole commotion of him kidnapping me at this block party. So we went inside. As soon as he went inside, I took off running. To which was it was a meat market back then. I knew there was a payphone, but when I got to the payphone handle was broken. So I just ran back to the back of the store. By this time, I hear him running towards me, and he ended up catching me behind the dumpster. So now he's dragging me back to the apartments. My shirt popped. I don't have a shirt anymore. I'm trying to cover myself. By this time, I'm screaming though. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm screaming, hoping somebody hears me. We get back to the apartment. The maintenance guy finally hears me, and he yells out, hey, leave her alone. What you doing? Leave her alone. Leave her alone. He gets in his car. He drives off. We called the police. The police they came out asking what happened. They said that they had helicopters looking for me. So I guess someone did call the police. He said there were helicopters looking for me. We heard he kidnapped you. and they had police riding around looking for me. So he was glad to see that I was okay. He ended up getting arrested. I didn't go to court because, of course, he called me and asked me not to come to court, threatened me not to come to court.
So it was just you out of fear.
Yeah, it was just me out of fear.
Would continue in hopes that maybe if you didn't do that, he'll eventually stop.
He'll eventually stop or just leave me alone.
Yeah.
I was okay with not being with him when we weren't together. I just wanted to leave me alone.
Yeah.
But then if I ignored him or if I act like I didn't want to be with him, that made him want me more. You know what I mean? And he would, I need you. I want you. I can't live without you. I promise I won't do it again. I'll go to counseling. I'll get help. All of these things just kept on and kept on and kept on. And you believe it. You know, you want this to be true. When you're a victim in that situation, it becomes your normal. It becomes the normal. Abuse is not just physical abuse all the time. There's a cycle. There's a cycle of abuse where there's a honeymoon season where everything is great. We went on trips. We did things. So it wasn't always a bad time.
Right.
And that's the time it will fool you into thinking this is going to be good this time. Okay, this time we're going to make it. We're going to be good. He's going to love me. And then something simple as a simple argument will cause the abuse to start all over again. And then once every time he abused me, he took me shopping. Every time. Even if I didn't want it, even if I'm in the store crying, even if I'm in the store disheveled, he would take me shopping. And if I didn't buy something in the store, what, you don't want my money? My money's not good enough for you? You don't want to get anything? That's another argument.
Yeah.
And then the cycle will start back over and it'll start back over. And that cycle lasted all those years because I kept believing that this is going to be a different time. There's a time he went to jail and I woke up with him punching me in my face. He actually got out of jail, broke into my mom's apartment, and was slapping me out of my sleep. And so after a while, I stopped calling the police. Call the police for what? What's going to happen? He's going to go to jail and get back out. I'm not going to go to court because I'm afraid to go to court. It was always just this vicious cycle of, I believe he's going to do better. He's not. He doesn't do better. And he beats me again. Yeah. And then it just kept on going on.
And out of that abuse, there's things that you're still dealing with physically.
Yes.
Because of that.
Yes, I have pseudotumor cerebri. I've been seeing, which is excessive fluid on my brain. I've been seeing neurologists for years till now. My neurologist just gives me medication. There was a time where I had to have fluid drained from my back with the needle because it becomes too much. And it causes me, I have motion headaches. So singing, coughing, sneezing, some movements causes me to have a headache. And it's better now. Thank God.
And that is because of
the doctor said that my brain at the time looked like I had been in a motorcycle accident.
Because he would beat you.
He would only beat me in my head. He would only beat me in my head. That was his target. He didn't want to know he's hitting on me because, mind you, everyone thought he was this great guy who was throwing money at me.
So it was nothing for you to show that this is happening.
Nothing.
To you.
My face was never bruised. Never. I had knots in my head. I had lumps in my head. I used to wear my hair in long plaits and long braids back then, and I ended up cutting my hair really short, like in a short cut, because he kept pulling my hair. There was a time where Christmas, he took me to get my hair done, maybe like 3 days before Christmas. I got my hair done that same night, Christmas Eve it was. He pulled my hair out, all of it. And back then we had finger waves. We had the hair glued in and, we were styled and profiling. So I had my finger waves in and he snatched out all my hair. Yeah. Took me back to the beautician because we knew her and paid her double to do my hair Christmas morning. So she said, okay, I'll do it. She did my hair Christmas morning. As soon as I got back, he snatched the weave out my hair again. And then I just washed my hair. This was Christmas morning.
How did you survive all of that?
Had to be God, because I have no idea. There were a day I attempted suicide. Like I said, there's so much of this story that, of course, we won't have time to get into. I attempted suicide around 17. So before I married him, I attempted suicide because I just couldn't understand. This was early on in the abuse. Like, what's going on? I thought he loved me. What did I do? Did I do something to cause this? Why is he beating me like this? You know, it must be me. And I felt myself going insane. And I took some pills and I just wanted to leave here. And I ended up in Jackson South in their psych ward. But before then, they pumped my stomach. And he came in there. He was like cussing at me on the table because I tried to kill myself. And I was like, I was so just even then distraught, and my mom didn't know. She thought because at the time I always had migraines as well. She thought I was just trying to get rid of a migraine. That's what I told her as well. So I ended up in the psych ward for like 2 days, 3 days on a 72-hour hold. And they were going to try to take me to Jackson in a straitjacket. But it was just some mixed up in records at the time. But my mom, they let me go to my mom and I just got therapy, and which only lasted for a little bit. But I went to answer your question. I don't know. I mentally, it was draining. It was draining. I had nothing but tears most of the time. I didn't know what to do. Always walking on eggshells, not sure what to say, not sure what to do. Because he would dress me up.
And physically and emotionally,
oh my
it's
goodness.
a lot to serve. I mean, the pain physically, physical pain, and then emotionally, that's your life.
Yeah.
That what do you do when you feel like there's no getting out? And that as much as you try, there's no getting out. How did you eventually get out? How did you get to the point where he wasn't after you anymore? Or how did that happen?
Well, there was one incident where he told me to get out his apartment. That was all the time. Every time he got mad at me, he told me to get out. But then he'll tell me to get out and find me, make me come back.
Yeah.
So there was a time he told me to get out. So I went upstairs to get my things. I grabbed the knife in the kitchen because just in case. He's like, I'm not going to touch you. Go ahead and get your things. I don't want you. I got somebody else. Whatever. Okay. I'm not even responding because I just want to get out of here.
You're just trying to get out.
So I go downstairs in the elevator. I go in the elevator. He goes down the stairs. As the elevator's opening, he jars at me. I grabbed the knife and I stabbed him right above his heart. Then I ran out and stabbed all his tires so he couldn't follow me. My plan was to get in my car and drive away. I didn't know that I connected with the knife. I just know
you were just defending yourself, and it was like a reaction.
Yeah. So I grabbed the knife and I took the knife with me and stabbed all his tires. But by the time I did all that, I think security must have heard the commotion because I couldn't even get in my car good. And he came out yelling, "Oh, she stabbed me, call the police," whatever. So the police, I think security ended up calling the police already, and the police came. And they're like, "Young lady, did you stab me?" I say, "Yes, I did," because, I'm thinking they're going to have my
Now you look like the bad one. You're the one that attacked this man.
I said, "I did," because he was going to hit me. They said, "Did he hit you?" I said, "No," but he came at me. They said, "But he didn't hit you. You can't stab him." I said, "But he was going to." I said, he always hits me. So they put me in the police car. They put in the police car as well. We both went to jail. I got to the fingerprint table, and there was a correctional officer who said, "I don't know what you're going through or what happened, but you need to get out of the situation." Because she said that knife went in a few more inches, you would have stabbed his heart. And guess who would have been going to prison?
Yeah.
You. I said, "But he's always hitting me." And she said, "But it's one time that he didn't, and you're defending yourself." She said, "I get it, but the law is he didn't hit you." And I knew at that moment, okay, I got to get out of this. I don't know how. I don't know why I got to get out of this. And I ended up going to court. He got out with the bond, and I had to go to court, and I got out on pretrial or vice versa. I can't remember what it was, but he ended up bonding me out. They did not, I'm sorry, you're right. They did not get me out on pretrial because I had a weapon, and he ended up bonding me out. So they allowed him to bond me out. So when he bonded me out.
So he was the good guy that wanted to rescue you after you did that to him.
And then I got in the car with him. He picked me up. He was like, "Do you want something to eat?" I wanted to regurgitate inside. I'm like, I just know he didn't ask me this. I done sat in this nasty jail, and I have to deal with this. So anyway, long story short, then I figured out how to leave. I thought in my mind, okay, I got to get out of this. And I knew that in those honeymoon seasons that we would have, he was in a great place and I was the best thing and he loved me, that I would plan to leave him during those times because he wouldn't expect me to leave him. So he would go to work every day and I would take some clothes to a friend of mine. She had just got her own place. I would take some clothes to her house and I would come back home. Then the next day I would do the same thing. And then I got to a point where I felt it was safe and he was happy in a good mood. I just went and never came back. I left. I went to her house, and this is the final time me leaving. Mind you, I've left several times. But this is the final time that I left. I went to her house. I told her, "Listen, do not tell anybody. No one should know where I am except for my mom. I don't care who it is." And I would go to work, but I would park at the parking lot. I got a new job, so he wouldn't know where I worked. I would park at the parking lot, get on the bus, and I would hide. I put dark tints on my car. I did this for a few months.
But he was looking for you.
He was looking for me. People tell me he was looking for me. And then I ended up getting my own apartment. And then I met my now husband.
We got to talk about that.
Sexual chocolate, as I love to call him. I met him and we were dating. This is very, very new. So he came into turmoil, not even know it. So this is very, very new in our relationship. And this one night he went outside to talk to one of my neighbors, and my apartment had a lake behind me and the parking lot in front. Now this whole day, my abuser had been calling me and texting me. He somehow got my number. I don't know how. He had been calling and begging, I want you back, and this, that, and the other. And he kept on. I said, listen, and that fear was still there because I kept answering the call. I kept responding, not to, I guess, make him mad. I don't know. When I think back, I don't know why I answered the phone, but I know it was fear, and I didn't want to hurt his feelings, and I just somehow just wanted to leave me alone.
Which is crazy how you cared about his feelings even
all the time
after all of those things that,
Yes.
But also you were conditioned to feel that way and conditioned to care. And there was always probably in the back of your mind a thing of maybe I'm at fault for some of these things.
All the time. And even new relationships. I had other relationships. He would find me and make me break up with people. So I didn't want to hurt this relationship as well. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. Should I not tell him? Let me just tell him, calm him down. He can leave me alone. So this is in my mind, I think, what I'm doing. But this whole time went on and all day. So this nighttime now, he called me one last time, and I hear him walking in. I hear grass. I hear wet grass in the background while he's walking. And I say, listen, do not call me anymore. I'm done with you. It's over. Leave me alone. But why don't you want to see me? And you know I love you. And this whole conversation was going on, and I hear my front door open, and I'm thinking it's George. And I look down my hallway, and it's him in my new apartment that I swear no one knew where I lived. I screamed. George came in, like, what's going on? Why is he here? I said, I don't want him here. Get him out. I want him to leave. So George told me he had to go. He was like, I want to talk to her. He said, you got to get out of here. You need to go out, like, get out of this apartment. So he left, and I went outside behind him just to tell him, don't come back over here. But why did I go out there? That's what happens with victims. Like, you still have this tie to this emotional and this abuse that you've gone through. It's so hard to break. It sometimes even holds on even tighter than physical abuse because it's in your mind. It's mentally, and you don't know how to let go and move on. I went outside, told him again for the last time, just don't come anymore. He said, are you with him? Do you want to be with him? I said, yes. Whether I'm with him or not, I don't want to be with you. I went inside. I talked to George about it. He asked me what happened. Why did he hear? And I explained to him what happened. And how I knew my husband he was going to be my husband. I told him that night. I cried and I bawled like someone was buried. He had to die in my head or die in my spirit for me to finally be free of him. And I think that's what happened that night. And George told me that night, I'm going to let you cry tonight. And I'm going to let you talk. I talked to him till like 5 o'clock in the morning. And I'm going to let you talk about it. I'm going to cry. I'm going to let you cry. But after tomorrow, we're not going to talk about it anymore. And he held me that night while I cried and while I freed myself from all of that abuse. And while I freed myself from all of that pain, my husband held me and talked to me. He didn't judge me. He didn't say why you did this or why didn't you leave. He didn't question me. He just held me and let me continue to pour out everything I had gone through the last 7 or 8 years or 9 years. And I thank God for him because I told him if he wasn't there that night, I would have took him back. Because that's all I knew, to take him back.
Yeah, because I hear you, and props to George. He's actually sitting back here. You guys, I love seeing you guys, and George is just so special with you, and you guys are beautiful and amazing. Just the fact that you're here, just always supporting her. But it takes a special kind of person to understand what was happening at the moment, because I would put myself in his shoes.
Yeah.
And honestly, in all honesty, thinking about it, I'll be like, are you crying because you want to be with him? Like, are you crying because you miss him? Are you crying because you think about those things? But from your perspective and your feelings, it's not that you were crying because you wanted to be with this person, but is what this caused in your mind. Is it's what this person created in your head, in your emotions. Like there's this a lid over your life, this thing that's got a hold of you that, like you said, needed to break off and to die. So to understand that it's not that you wanted to be with this person, but that there's so many more emotions attached to it and things that he made you believe about yourself that now needed to begin to fall off. You know, those chains that were tying you to that.
That's just what they were, chains. And every time I sing Tasha Cobb's Break Every Chain, it's so true. They're not just lyrics to a song. Emotional chains are real. And that's the first thing George asked me. He said, "Are you crying because you want to be him?" I said, "No." I said, "I promise it's not." I was tired. And I think I just was glad that he was there to give me that strength, because if he wasn't, I know I would have took him back, because I was just afraid of what he would do if I didn't. And I believe because somebody was there to stand up for me and protect me, it made him back away. There were people that he's seen me with before, and those people didn't stand up for me. And they didn't help me, and they didn't ask me, was that okay? This was different. And George said, "You got to get up out of here." And he turned around and walked away. And I felt secure enough to stand up for myself in that moment. And George was just so very loving at that moment. And we barely knew each other. We had been on a couple of days. I just moved in. But I knew that he had a heart and that he cared for me. He cared about my well-being. I don't have to be in survival mode with him. Even now, 23 years later, I don't have to be in survival mode with my husband. He got it. He's got it. Whatever I'm going through, if I feel like I'm stressed out about, he has my back, you know? So it took a lot of us. Now, don't get me wrong. Our marriage was not perfect, because all of that, which we'll talk about later, but all of that I carried from that relationship, I brought into this one, because I refuse to be a victim anymore. Ain't nobody trying me. You know, nobody's gonna talk to me the kind of way.
I was thinking about you, and I'm like, I see Shonda, and she is so strong that I'm like, who is gonna lift a finger and like who? But it happened, because it like we were talking about, it just doesn't happen suddenly. I was thinking, as you say that, the story of how you know, people in this, like, that have the circus or whatever, when they chain the elephants when they're babies, and they grow up, they can technically walk off, but they don't, because mentally they've been conditioned to the fact that they can't go anywhere. And it's the same thing in our lives. It could be something that we can overcome. It could be something we can leave. But once our minds are so conditioned that we begin to believe, now the chain is no longer a physical thing, but it's a mental thing. It's how do I move on from this? And so now, you being on the other side of this, I think about so many women that could be watching right now and have been through what you've been through, maybe are currently going through what you are going through. And before we even started this, we talked about the fact that not all abuse is physical abuse. There is that emotional abuse that hurts just as bad, and that chains you and put this over your life just as bad, and that are currently fearing and dealing with those emotions of that young Shanda at that point, that was struggling with, I need to get out, but I can't. I need to get out, but they won't let me. What would you tell those women?
Well, I would hope that at first in the relationship, when it begins, that they will pay attention to the red flags. Because once you get in, it's harder to get out than it is if you pay attention to those red flags in the beginning. And that's why I go around speaking about red flags, because we can miss them. We can miss them as, you know, he just loves me, or she just loves me so much, because men are also victims of abuse. And they feel that, you know, even with teenagers, when I go speak to them, they feel having a crazy girlfriend is cute. You know, she's checking my phone, she's checking my social media, she wants all my passwords, and she's doing this, she's doing that, and they feel
the new thing is this toxic girlfriend, toxic man, and we glorify these things as they just care for me, and it's so cute.
Toxic relationships are glorified right now, and it's so scary. I see it on TikTok, and I see it on Twitter, and I see people doing things, and the comment section is the word they say, diabolical. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I say that, I say to women in those situations to get help. Get someone who's going to help you find someone in your life that you can trust to help you get out of that situation immediately, because it gets worse. It does not get any better. I don't care how much they say, I'm not going to do it. I promise I'm going to, until that person gets help, it's not going to change. Yeah. And they can go get help, and that's fine, but be away from you. Allow them to go get help in their own time, individually, but you have to get out of that situation to be safe, because it's only going to get worse. And the more you stay, the more they feel that they have control over you, because threatening to leave and not leaving only strengthens them, because you're not going to go. And leaving and coming back only strengthens them. Because my abuser always tell me, she'll be back. She always does this. She'll be back. He said it all the time, and I did. I went back. I would stay gone for a little bit. He felt like if I didn't have any money or I was low on money, I would come back, because he was my provider at the time.
Because he isolated you to the point that you needed him. And I think that that's huge right now. What you were saying at the beginning, I see. And not just young women, but I guess thinking about this younger generation and what we're talking about, toxic relationships, is this thought that they're so jealous, but it's because they care about me.
Yeah.
And this slow process of isolating, that's a huge red flag.
Yes.
If this person that tells you they love you but is isolating you from friends and family, that is a massive red flag.
Massive red flag.
You need to run, because slowly, progressively, what this person is doing is getting you to a place where you can't ask for help anymore.
Or
where
your
now
family
they control you. Or they don't want me to go have this job because, they're providing for me. And it's just those little things to be so aware.
Yeah. And they get you to the point where even your family members like, she must want to be there, or he must want that relationship, So then your family is like, she wants to be there. I'm not going to help. And I would say that to family members, don't give up on them. Even if it seems like you're trying to help and they don't want the help, still be there for them, because they're going to eventually need the help. Don't turn your back on them.
Thinking
and that's
back
something
about your family, how can family members support when they know something like this is going on, but maybe you've advised them they can't leave, they don't feel strong enough to leave? What can they do?
One of the frustrating things for me as for being an advocate is that sometimes victims are not ready. And as much help as we're here, hold my hand, I got you, they're not ready. And so I only can say is just be there, support them, check on them. Do you need anything? Are you okay? And constantly encourage them that you can do this. If you do this, A, B, and C, or I got you. Make sure you're just there. And that's the best information, advice I can give, because they have to be ready. The victim has to be ready to put that one foot in front of the other. Because if they're not ready and you make them leave, guess who is going to turn them against? He's going to turn them against you, because he's going to make them feel you're separating, your family's separating us. You're making them come in between us. I'm the only one that loves you. And so then they start believing that, because now they're going to be mad at you. You're making me leave my husband. I can't leave my husband and my children. So you have to be kind of subtle about it, but still be there for them. Don't tell them, don't call me anymore because you must want to be there. Or, don't turn your back on them, because they will come to a point in their time in their life and they're going to need you.
They'll be ready to take
I need you to help me get out of this.
Yeah. What are some of those red flags that you would say to people right now? Some of those red flags that you would say, look out for these things.
Definitely the control, jealousy. Also, pay attention how they act around other people, how they treat other people, how they treat people at the restaurant. That's one of my things too. When you see them interact with strangers, see how they interact with other people, because eventually it's going to come on to you. They have a short fuse if they're moody. Those are certain red flags you want to definitely pay attention to. If you're going somewhere, how many times they're texting you and calling you throughout the day. I'm not talking about, hey, I love you, just checking on you. I mean, where are you? Why aren't you home? What are you doing? Those type of text messages and phone calls. If they're checking your social media excessively, if they want to know who is this and why they're liking this, always check their mood. Red flags are always in our face and we just don't see them.
Yeah.
And I love to give the analogy about when you're out in the ocean and you see that buoy and that red buoy is out there and that buoy means danger. And if you keep going towards that buoy, you're going to drown. That's just what that is. There are things before you get to that buoy that says, hey, don't come this far or you're going to drown. And the red flags are just that. Anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. A lot of times, I know for women, especially single women, don't want to be single. So they try to brush off little things that they see in relationships with men because they're afraid of being single.
Because you'd just rather be in that relationship.
Because you'd rather be in that
even
relationship.
if you have to put up with whatever.
Because you think about it, it'll just blow
Yeah.
over. Whatever he's going through, he'll be all right tomorrow. We'll just get over it. Because like I said before, it's not like that the whole time.
Yeah.
There are good moments. So definitely isolation, controlling, excessive, extreme jealousy, checking your phone, checking your social media, and definitely stalking. Any type of those things. They pop up to your house for no reason and not invited all the time, and it makes you uncomfortable about it. That's definitely a red flag.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for all the insight.
you.
And for everyone watching, you do have an organization that you help women who have been victims of domestic abuse called Pain to Purpose,
Yes.
which is helping so many people. And I know that you go out there and you speak to young people and you help in any way that you can. So you also have this book called Love After Abuse.
Yes.
And you can go to Amazon and get this. It's stories of 9 survivors and how they found love after abuse. And so we're going to put it on the caption as well so that you can get it, find it, and support. And what other advice would you give that person watching? What other tools? We talked about a phone number.
Yes.
That they can reach out to, because there might be someone watching right now and they might be at the beginning stages of something like this, but I'm also thinking of someone who might be afraid for their own lives.
Yes.
That if they leave, this person is going to find me. And unfortunately, we are living in times where you just turn on the TV
Yes.
and these things happen. I mean,
Happen
my gosh,
frequently.
these situations of that man who shot his ex-wife with the child, it's like...
There's a 21-year-old that shot his girlfriend in 8th grade. Murdered her. I just saw that the other day.
So I could imagine you being on the other side,
Yes.
thinking there's no getting out. How?
It's hard. It is hard. And after years of going through it myself, we have a workshop called #Exit Plan with our organization where we talk about different steps, because you have people who are immigrants, you have people who are their abuser is the sole provider. So how do you tell someone who's being taken care of to leave your home with your children and go live in a shelter? It's not easy, and that's a lot of times the people who don't want to leave, because where do they go?
Yeah.
So I'm going to sit here and take this abuse rather than go live in this shelter with my kids. So I would say that definitely pack a bag or pack items, especially important items that you have. If you're in a situation you want to leave soon and can't, and put it somewhere. Make sure you have a secret word. I also tell people that we talk to that if you call me and if I call you, I'm sorry, and I'm in distress and I have a problem, if I say I need some pineapple, or if I need to do your hair, some kind of code word or code phrase, that's me telling you to call the police, or I need you to get me some help, because I may not be able to call the police right now, but I could call you.
Yes.
So also have a code word or code phrase that you all can, that communicates, I need help right now. But definitely find where you're going to go. Call the shelter to see what kind of information they have. Because not all shelters are, to the point where you can't live there. There are some that have individual apartments. People don't know that there's information, that there's housing out there that will keep you comfortable. So find out where the shelters are and how to get there, and what's the plan to get into the shelter. Definitely have somewhere to go, have somewhere safe, and tell your job. I know sometimes people are afraid to or embarrassed to share the information, but had I told my job, I'd probably been more safe at work. He was able to come to my job because everybody knew him.
Yeah.
So when you finally do leave, or if you're planning to leave, tell your job so they don't let that person up in your job. There's a woman that got murdered at work. She's a teacher. there. Her ex-husband walked into school and shot her.
And nobody knew that
And
there was
everybody
an
knew
issue,
him
yeah.
because they were used to
Yeah.
him coming there. So make sure you communicate. I know it's embarrassing, but you're not the problem.
Yeah.
The abuser is. So make sure you tell someone and get help.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of things to do. Like I said, I'll put the information on our website for our hashtag exit plan workshop so that you can come out and get more information.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing
Thank
your
you so
story.
much.
I know there's so much more
I
we
know.
can talk about, but we have limited time. But we're going to put all the info on the description so
Yes.
people can find the website, find resources, and get the help that they need. So thank you so much. And for you that you're watching, thank you for joining us. We hope that this information is helpful. Everything that we do and every conversation that we have is with that hope and that intention to not just share a story, but through that story, be able to give you tools to move forward, tools to be encouraged, and in this case, tools to help you if you or someone you know are in this situation. So we're going to put all the information here. If you need any other kind of help, reach out to us. We would love to help you in any way that we can. And thank you once again for joining us for this episode. We'll see you next time.